The title of this talk is from Chief Dan George. We are as much alive as we keep the earth alive. Poet Mary Oliver said, the only question is how to love this world. And a Cherokee person, Scott Momaday, says this, we humans must come again to a moral comprehension of the earth and air. We must live according to a land ethic. The alternative is that we shall not live at all. I believe that these are wise words, and I believe that how we address this climate change, this moment with the COVID-19 pandemic, must be within the context of the climate crisis. This moment of massive disruption opens the imagination to radical new frameworks of how humankind lives together with profound respect for creation. This is the moment. Dangerous crises provide opportunities for new ways of being and acting within the amazing gift of life, within the intricate web and beauty of Mother Earth. We are becoming aware of how our earthly home is fragile and resilient, complex and stunning, and yet also sick and wounded, broken-hearted. She is being pushed to her limits and beyond. Humankind as consumer and plunderer has replaced humankind as citizen and spiritual being. The devastating virus, COVID-19, has stopped us in our tracks. It has initiated a huge pause in business as usual. In the midst of death, fear, frenzy, and bewilderment, we have this moment to rethink our systems, our beliefs, our ways of being together within our earthly home. We can imagine a different, a more livable future than we have forecast. This moment is precious. I believe we live in the decade of struggle for the soul of humankind. This is the decade where action or non-action will determine the kind of world our children and grandchildren will inherit. Therefore, this is an exciting time to be alive. This is our moment. I know that this crisis is a matter of science and medicine, of health and innovation, of economics, politics, jobs, engineering, social systems, and of course, much, much more. And many people across disciplines around the world are responding with intellect, passion, skill, and cooperation, and personal commitment in finding new solutions to the virus and suggesting different frameworks of living for the future. But I believe just as important, this crisis within the climate crisis is also a matter of spirituality and ethics. It is also about Mother Earth and her health and future, including all her interdependent creatures, including us. I attend too many conferences and meetings where all the talk is about humankind and how smart we are and all the progress in technology that will save us in order to continue business as usual. But I am also encouraged to read and hear a great variety of people pleading that we do not return to business as usual. Already we are imagining a new economics, a new politics, and other social systems. I say, bring on more new thinking. Within the embracing context of the climate crisis, this pivotal moment is not only about us. As Indigenous neighbors teach us, it is about all our relations. It is about the natural world, Mother Earth, on whom all life depends. At the core of our response is spirituality and ethics. I believe that some basic spiritual questions are: who do we think we are? How do we live with respect in creation? And how do we live in communion with all of life? These are deeply spiritual questions that we must address, I believe. And I believe that faith communities have an essential role in helping our society grapple with this moment of truth telling. I believe all faith and spiritual traditions, many rooted in thousands of years of seeking love, justice, peace, and living in harmony with Mother Earth and each other, have much to contribute to this precious moment. The pandemic challenges us to rethink and redesign the economic, political, and social frameworks within which we live. Besides being a spiritual matter, who are we, human beings anyway, this is a deeply ethical matter as well. A key ethical question at the heart of our collective reflection is consumption. Simply put, we are plundering and consuming the earth for all of our entitlements and our self-indulgence. I believe our hyper-consumption underlies the basic reality of the climate crisis. In fact, in the short time of severe cuts in travel and manufacturing and so on due to the pandemic, we are amazed at the cleaner air and water emerging. Even animals are reclaiming the world. I live near Banff, and people are talking about the animals coming back and wandering the streets without cars and people to interfere. Last year, Toyota had an ad campaign called the No Limits event. Jeep leads the way in showing their vehicles ripping through forests and bounding across rivers and motoring their way to mountaintops. In one word, it is obscene. In the Guardian Weekly recently, John Vidal said, "The way to avoid ecological disaster is to starve the beast of consumerism." There are limits to Mother Earth's capacity to indulge all of our desires. And these kinds of advertisements that Toyota and Jeep have fuel human arrogance. If we have the money, we can do what we want, buy what we want, go anywhere that we want. And the come on is, you deserve it. You deserve this or that, entitlement or self-indulgence. In his wonderful encyclical on care for our common home, Pope Francis says, people may well have a growing ecological sensitivity, but it has not succeeded in changing their harmful habits of consumption. So for me, the ethical question is, to what does Mother Earth think we are entitled? Currently, our economic systems require continuous growth, an ever-increasing consumption of the earth and its capacity in order to feed human appetites. There are limits to the earth's capacity to be mined and plundered and exploited. And there are many creative and workable alternatives that we know about that are out there, from Green New Deals to circular economics to Kate Rayworth's donut economics to the eco-commons. Our ravishing of Mother Earth cannot continue. Our present system has also resulted in extreme wealth for a few and contrasted with debilitating poverty for the many. Again, there are many workable proposals to guarantee a sustainable living for everybody. The pandemic has exposed the vulnerability of major populations throughout the world. This is a transformative moment for our economic and governing systems. So as we search the human heart for a sustainable way into the future, will these spiritual and ethical dimensions find a voice? They are central to the challenges of the human soul. And unless we draw on these spiritual and ethical dimensions of life, the future is indeed grim. We have the experience, the traditions, the resources, the stories, and the ceremonies. And now this pandemic has stopped us in our tracks and given us the opportunity to rethink how we live. We know some of the key words, for example, that are worth exploring: gratitude, grief, lament, humility, justice, beauty, ceremony, ritual, love, wonder. Each word is worth our attention. They are rich in our spiritual and ethical experience, stories, and traditions. Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh writes, "What we need to do is to hear within us the sounds of the earth crying." A spiritual revolution is needed if we are going to confront the ecological challenges that we face. Linked to how we treat Mother Earth is how we treat the most vulnerable and oppressed of our human family. In a very profound way, how we treat such service providers as personal support workers in our nursing homes has been exposed by the pandemic. The veil has been lifted. The people who grow and harvest our food, care for the elderly and the very young, are not paid a living wage. The pandemic has also revealed how interdependent we are. We belong to the whole human family, who belong to the vast, intricate web of all life. So this moment presents us with a unique opportunity, a special moment. It's what Al Gore calls the acceleration of a compelling moral purpose. Rabbi Abraham Heschel inspires us. Our goal should be to live in radical amazement. So may we pause, lament, grieve, reflect, and then may we open our imagination, our spiritual and ethical values, and our hearts, as well as our minds, to chart a future rooted in our common life in the natural world on whom we depend. Then may our struggle for the soul of humankind be celebrated with joy, hope, solidarity, and love, and radical amazement.